The 2023 season has come to a close for the Oakland A's, and to say that we took a step backwards is an understatement. In this video, I will be showing you who was good and who was not up to standard for the A's in 2023. I will also touch up on a couple of prospects who could see MLB time soon, time to be determined. I do apologize for not posting up a lot of content and context for the 2023 season, but a combination of life problems, lack of motivation, and just the amount of stink this team gave off just wasn't going to make good contact, I think. So without further ado, let's get going. Now, as you can see here, I have not simmed the playoffs yet. That will be something for the off-season broadcast that will be coming up very soon. We go to our GM goals. We finished 65 and 97 last season in 2022. It did not get better this year. We lost over 100 games. I don't remember the exact number. I believe we lost 104 games. We actually went down probably 2 to 3 pegs in a way. And here in a second, I'm going to explain why for this team and why we need to improve next year. Now, we're just covering the major league roster. May touch up on some prospects, especially our draft picks that we looked at last year. I don't think I can show the prospects that I drafted this year, but I put those up on Twitter, so you can just go over to Twitter, check those out there. I also put up the pitching lines for the starters in both Major League, AAA, and AA, so you can go check out them there as well. So let's look at the roster real quick. Starting pitching, I'm just going to put it as nice as I can. We were very good. Just no one performed. I think Severino, as of right now, has probably been the biggest bust that we have signed in this franchise, only 2 years in. 7 and 17, close to a 5 ERA. He was hurt 3 times this season. 2 of those 3 times were under a week. The other time, I believe he was out for a month, which was he received that injury on his hand in his very first start of the season against the Guardians. He only went 1 inning and he got hurt. So maybe that was a sign of things to come. Fixing to hit 30 years old, free agent. I don't see us bringing him back. Frankie Montas, surprisingly, no one offered for him at the deadline. He stayed with the team, finished at a 10 and 17 record, which is 20 games, 20 wins, and 29 losses. Isn't exactly what I want in a potential ace. And now he's starting to downturn. All probably won't be back either. He's probably going to want more money, believe it or not. I'm going to estimate he's going to want 9 to 10 mil. I'm not going to pay that for someone who. James Caprillion had an abysmal year. Didn't get his first win until the 5th start of his season. 6 and 12, as you can see there, 4.5 ERA. And just for a side note, when it came to pitching and hitting, we were almost dead last in every category. There was a couple of, which I don't recall off the top of my head, there were a couple of categories where we were midway through, which is great. But when it came to our pitching and our hitting, we were almost dead last in every category. Our offense was just atrocious, to say the least. I didn't think we could get worse than we were in 22, but boy, was I wrong there. We were definitely worse this year. But getting back to it here at hand, James Caprillion, who's still got 2 more years left on his deal, didn't have a good year either. 6 and 12, 4.5 ERA. You see the little pattern that we got going here. Definitely a step backwards. Less innings pitched. He gave up a few less hits, but he gave up way more runs than what he should. Home runs that he gave up were down, which is great. Strikeouts were almost the same. Cole Irvin was probably the biggest disappointment for me. After going 12 and 6 the year before with a 2.9 ERA, now he goes 8 and 18 with a 4.6 ERA, almost giving up 200 hits in the season in 184 innings is something that you don't want to see from your middle starter. He did eclipse over 100 strikeouts, though, so that was good to see, almost hitting his career high he set back in 2021. Now, with him with arbitration, will he come back? I don't know. I think he just gives up way too many hits for us to really keep him. He'll also be 30 by the time the year starts. If we do bring him back, we're looking at a 1-year deal. And last but not least, we got our rookie pitcher, Elroy Mack, and I'm willing to let him slide a little bit. This is his very first start He was a rookie. He started 30 games, went 4-14 with a 4 ERA. He had a couple of minor injuries this year, which isn't ideal, but thankfully they were minor, nothing major. Quality starts. He had 13 quality starts out of 30. I don't think that's very efficient. When you have 30 games started, I think you should have at least half. I think so. In this instance, he started 30 games. I think he should have 15 quality starts at minimum. That's just my bar. Everyone's bar is different. Fine. But as you can see, the saddest part about this is despite the 4-14 record, he actually led our starting rotation in strikeouts at 157. Next was, I believe, Severino, who had 153. So there are some upsides to Elroy Mack. His overall has been shooting up. At the start of the year, I believe he was a 70 overall, maybe a 72. Now he's a 78, and he's still flying upward. So it's really that pitching clutch and control that I'm looking at. Everything else is acceptable, but it also helps that it's projecting upward, and that's what we want. A potential, wherever he is in our rotation, whether that's a start or like a ace or just a middle rotation guy. Brent Honeywell Jr. Now, we did something interesting with him this year. We made him the long relief, filling in for AJ Puck. And despite these numbers, I think he did a lot better. 10-10 record. He started a couple games because he had to do some spot starts to cover injuries. But 10-10 record, 4.7 ERA. He had more strikeouts. He did give up more walks, which is something that you don't want to hear. I guess overall, if you look at the baseline of his stats, he looked better. But there are some situations where I don't know what my leash is with Honeywell. He's either going to make it as our long reliever for now, or he's not going to make it at all. And to be honest, I don't know. His arbitration should be pretty cheap. If we can get by with under $1 million, we'll probably be back. Cusick was not actually part of the rotation, so we're not looking. Now, I would show you some starters, but to be honest, that would probably be in a video in itself. And I already, like I said, I put on Twitter what the starters in the minor league clubs were doing. The AA starters were phenomenal. Everybody was really good. From Suecos to Ochoa. Well, Ochoa was getting better as the year went. Kevin O'Hara will definitely be in AAA next year. It's his second straight year, maybe, or a year and a half of killing it in AA. So anyway, let's look at relievers. Now, when you look at our relievers, overall, they weren't terrible, but they should have been better. That's what I think. They really should have been better. And it looks different now, and it's going to look different by the time the 2024 season comes. Well, Zach Littell, someone that we traded for. I like him. He's definitely going to be part of this team next year, projecting upward, 27 years old, a little younger, someone we need. And let me just say this. I shouldn't probably give predictions of what I'm going to do in the offseason until the stream gets here, but I will say this. It is going to determine what the free agent pool looks like. It wasn't very good in the last offseason, but we have to hope the free agent pool is there. There are some nice players there, and that we understand our budget a little more. We'll be a little more aggressive in getting some nice players. I know there's a couple of starters that I'm already looking at. One of them I'm probably going to bid heavily for, depending on how much money they want. Jose Alvarez, good year, very solid reliever. 2 home runs in 18 innings. That's not bad. I'll take that. 2.41 ERA. Adam Kolarek, probably the surprise of the year when it comes to our bullpen, a 1.69 ERA and 42 innings of work. He is downtrending. I would like to bring him back for one more year. I think he's been a very reliable, maybe not perfect, but a reliable lefty out of the pen. Luke Jackson, someone that we claimed. Did we claim him off waivers? I can't remember. Anyway, we got Luke Jackson near the end of the year, or maybe it was near the deadline. But we got Luke Jackson, 3.72. That's not bad. Will he come back next year? To be determined. Really to be determined. But I like his stuff. That control is phenomenal. That's what I like to see in my 86 control. And, I guess it depends on how he develops in the offseason. And then when 24 comes back around. Ryan Baricki hasn't been AAA. He was actually up in the majors a lot last year. Did pretty good, 3.32. He's still growing, even at 29 years old. unknown if he'll come back. Crichton, the biggest reliever that we signed in the offseason next to Kirby Yates, who we traded at the deadline. No, we got Kirby Yates Rule 5. I'm sorry. Kirby Yates was in the Rule 5 draft. We traded him for someone very nice, which we may get to a little later. Crichton, not great. After Kirby Yates was traded, he became our closer. He managed to get 19 saves, but he also blew 5 of them. 31 years old. Arbitration looking like it's going to be $600K, maybe $650 for next year. Depends on the free agent pool. Pruitt may have seen his last days as an Oakland Athletic, or at least in the majors. Maybe he'll go down to the minors, but he's kind of done. 106 hits, 114 innings. Strikeouts are up, which is phenomenal, but he also didn't show up in as many games. He had some injury problems. He's 33 years old. He's not really going to go up anymore, and if we're going to go for a playoff position this year, we need some relievers that will be there when we need them. And of course, there are a couple of prospect relievers that I'm looking at for sure. The guy that we got in the draft last year, Elmo McDermott. Like I said, his stats are gone. He didn't do fantastic. He had a 4 ERA, but to be honest, it seemed like after all the games that I've seen that I watched him play in, he has very good control. His pitching clutch, as you can see, is a lot to be worked on. His overall's gone up about 3 to 4 points. Nice lefty, 21 years old, out of Illinois. He's probably going to be in the minors next year as well. But I like his projection. I believe his last his first 5 appearances, I think it's 5 appearances, he didn't give up a run. He really kind of just fell apart at the end of the season, which is fine because the AAA team didn't make the postseason anyway. They were about 20 games under. And, there's just a couple of people down here. You're looking at Patrick Murphy. You're looking at Kirby Sneed. And, Wanderson Charles was the closer for the AA team. He racked up 40 saves, which is phenomenal for someone that was just thrown in that role. It doesn't show it here. But he did rack up 40 saves. That's something I couldn't ask for someone that was just thrown into the closer spot. No closers. Like I said, we had Kirby Yates, but we traded him away. We got Kirby Yates in the Rule 5, and just chilling there. He was phenomenal for us. He really was. He was very, very good. But we were already out of it by the trade deadline, so I thought it was a good idea to send him away. And that's what we did. We sent him away. The catching position, not a lot of development here. When it comes to looking at Shea Langeliers, it'll be his first year. 213, kind of what you expect out of a rookie pro, and he's going to make mistakes. He's going to struggle with hitting. He's going up, which is good. Austin Allen, about the same. Didn't really do that much different. Everything was slightly more down. Strikeouts were a little down. Got more stolen bases somehow. I don't know how that happened. Will he come back next year? Arbitration deal. Maybe an estimated $800K instead of $750. That's not bad. We may bring him back for one more year. CJ Rodriguez, of course, in AAA. This guy's almost ready. We just need that hitting to develop. And Soderstrom will be in AAA. Rafael Marchand, did all right. I don't remember his numbers from AAA, but we'll see how he does. He'll be in the minors. Pretty much our catching is not really going to change. So, unless there's something out there that we can go get a steal on. First base, Lawrence Butler. Kind of had a down year when it comes to his average, when it comes to his base percentage, his slugging, slightly below average. Home runs, good. RBIs, good. Stolen bases, yeah, we'll take that. I'm always appreciative of a first baseman that could steal some bags for us. Only got caught twice? Yeah, so twice is good. Still got 2 more years, $130,000 left on his deal, so at worst, if he's not our first base starter this year, we're looking at him. Especially as someone with speed. He's got good fielding. Can even play the outfield. Williams Astudillo. We signed him, or we traded for him or something. I can't remember what we did. It's been a couple weeks, but we wanted him for flexibility, for the ability to make contact, which he does, but he didn't really show it. I don't know what else to say about this. 31 years old. Arbitration looks good. We may bring him back. It's hard to say. Hard to say. Second base, Tony Kemp. I like Tony Kemp. He had another good year. Yes, his average wasn't exactly what it was back in 22, 273 to a 240. Home runs were down, RBIs were down, walks were down, strikeouts were up. He almost doubled his stolen bases, which is a very nice, what's the word I'm looking for? A nice change. But he's been so good at the leadoff spot. It'll depend on how much money he wants. He has $3 million. His salary was $3 million this year. I believe the estimated value for him for next year would be between 5 to 6. I'm going to say 5 to 7 mil. So if it's 7 million, we may move on. If it's maybe 5, I might bring him back for another year. I like Tony Kemp. I think he's a very good player in this franchise. And yeah, some of his numbers are starting to go down, but his overall is still was going up, but now it's stable. Something we'll have to look at. My nose is killed. Luis Arias, we got him from the Red Sox in a trade. I don't remember who we sent to the Red Sox. I put that up on Twitter, so you can go find it there. This is a guy that I want to keep on this team as long as we can. Mostly for his contact ability, plate vision, and clutch. Something that we really didn't have. Don't need a lot of power. I just need someone to make contact and put the ball in play, and that's what he did, hitting 271. Very good compared to what he did with the Twins in 22. But there's really not a lot to talk about when it comes to Arias. You want him for a little bit of defense, want him for hitting, and he's someone that would fit good. I would actually bat him second behind Tony. It's up to me, but we'll see what happens. In the offseason, some things could change. I think he did very well after the trade with Boston when he came over here. Third base is just a big old hole. Ironman did not have a good year. He regressed a lot when it comes to his production. Home runs were almost cut in half. The RBIs were up, but look at those strikeouts, man. 81 strikeouts to 153 strikeouts. We can't really be having that. He hit under 200 mostly the whole season. So if he's lucky, he'll be in AAA next year. I think we're going to have to go somewhere else when it comes to our third base. Now, thankfully, we have some options. Miguel Geraldo, someone that we got from the Blue Jays in a trade. I believe we sent Yates to the Blue Jays for this prospect. I believe that's the trade it was. Now, not exactly ready yet, 70 overall. He was in AA last year. He'll probably be in AA this year because Zach Gelof is in AAA as well. And to be honest, Gelof will probably get the call before Geraldo does. And also down here, we're looking at Nolan Jones, someone who's been quietly, like I said, the stats are not here, but he was very good in AAA. This guy was phenomenal. He hit around 300, if I remember my stats correctly. He hit around 300. At 24 years old, this guy could sneak his way into our roster maybe by the deadline this year if he keeps raking like he's doing. But we have some options. Now, if we do go for a free agent, 1 year, 2 year max as a third baseman, depending on who's out there. And we can't remember, nobody knows this because I didn't upload the stuff, but the Boston Red Sox offered me Christian Arroyo at least 3 times. I said no each time because the trades just didn't make sense. So, could we look at Christian Arroyo, who's 27? Maybe. I think he could be a perfect. Shortstop, saw the debut of Robert Puason. I've been saying his name wrong the whole time. I'm never going to get used to saying it. I'm just going to call him Robert P. because I'm going to butcher his last name every time. Don't mean to be any disrespect, but I just can't say his name. And he had the rookie year like you would expect him to have. 184. Definitely not what we want to see. 7 homers, 18 RBIs. He had 7 stolen bases, which is nice. Let me go find his... he did commit 10 errors, so that's definitely not great. A negative WAR. I'm willing to give that a slide, though. This is the year that I need to see what he's doing. I don't expect him to do a lot offensively, but I need that defense to really show up, especially at shortstop. And he's got some nice people breathing down his back. Logan Davidson had a pretty solid year for us. He only played in 56 games, but very similar to what he did last year. The same amount of at-bats, almost the same amount of games. Had 2 home runs more, he had 8 more RBIs, he had 1 more walk, he cut down on his strikeouts, he didn't steal as many bags. Wasn't very good on the bases this year. 2 out of 10, I believe is that number would be. But a 244 average, it's not great, but it's a start. You know, uh, what do we do with Davidson? Renewable contract, chances are he'll be. But it's these guys that we're looking at that's below him. Richie Farmer, someone that we got in the draft last year. He did very well in AAA. I believe he hit about 250. I don't remember his home runs, but he did very good. I know that for a fact. Manuel Valentine down there in AA, he did even better. He hit around 280, had about 20 homers, maybe 60 something RBIs. I'm trying to remember the exact number he had. It's going to be interesting to see what we do with these these two cats, because they are the two main guys. They are the two main guys that we're going to have to focus. Because since their C potential, I don't know how well they're going to be. Could they be in our starting lineups this year? Maybe not, but I would like to make some room for them. Maybe we convert one to third base. If we do, it'd be Valentine, but we need more contact and vision. So maybe one more year. Left field. Now here we go. Austin Meadows, the big trade that we had in the middle of the season, and he was for the Rays, and he was very good for us. He was exactly what we need as our centerpiece. 27 years old. He was so good we gave him an extension. 3 years, $36 million extension. I think that's worth it. At 261, he was mostly DHing. 39 homers, 94 strikeouts were about average for him, maybe slightly lower if you look at before the 2020 season. Walks were up, almost doubled his walks from last year. I like Austin Meadows. He is probably our permanent DH now. Got that perk that we need, the situational hitter, driving in a runner from third with less than 2 outs, something that we just cannot do. And I think that Meadows is going to be a key piece for us in the future. So I love the trade. I love the extension. 27 years old. Definitely the DH against Ryan. For sure. Chad Pinder, we gave him the extension last year. Not a big extension, but he definitely had the mega curse deal where, you give him an extension and they do pretty bad next year. The next season. He played in 2 more games, yet he hit 216. So pretty unexcusable for Pinder. I think he's going to be a backup for the rest of his career with us. So, it's unfortunate, but that's just how it goes, man. That's just how it goes. So, maybe Pinder will have a bounce back. And then, we're looking at Robbie Kobayashi, Brent Rooker. He hit over 300 in AA. Probably will start his year in AAA, maybe, going into this season. 28 years old. Probably will be a trade chip. It's hard to say. Center field, Christian Pache. I've already said it. He's our center fielder. Trending in the right direction, hitting 246, 12 homers, 63 RBIs. Strikeouts were up. That's something we didn't need for him. But to be honest, strikeouts were up for almost everybody on this team. 15 stolen bases. We like that. 76 overall. Now, I've noticed that his potential has dropped down from an 8B, which is slightly concerning. But everything else looks pretty good. It seems like he's developing more against lefties than he is righties. And as nice as that is, we really need more players to hit off righties than we do lefties. So we'll see if he can work on that. 24 years old, still plenty of time. Plenty of time for him to get it all together. And then, just the last position here. Ramon Laureano was hurt this year. He also got the extension last season. So, as you can see, he's starting to regress. Do we trade him this year? Probably not. But as you can see, he didn't really perform. 233, 13 homers, 32 RBIs, only 89 games, 90 strikeouts. Did still 11 bases, but I don't need that. I need someone that could drive runners in that are on base. He's definitely not doing that. And that -8 contact versus lefties is concerning to me, because that's where he did a lot of his damage in the season before, was against lefties. He's going to start losing that, maybe defensive sub. It's really hard to say. But as you could tell, this team has a lot of promising talent when it comes to the minor leagues. but we've got to win this year. This has to be a playoff year. And it's hard to say if we're going to achieve that or not. It really is. There's Mickey McDonald. He took a massive step back this year, enough to where I sent him to AAA and he struggled, and he went to AA. Now I know the game has him in AAA now, but that's because, if I remember correctly, I called him up to AAA literally the last week of their season because of an injury. But yeah, he definitely he's fallen from his grace when it came to how he did last year, hitting 260, now only hitting 199. And we just can't have that. And the only guy to highlight when it comes to right field, Roberto Campos, a guy that was 56 overall, 60. I don't remember his stats either. I know he was fourth in the team in home runs. So that's something to look at going into next year. Another year of AA is needed for him. So, like I said, just this team is a mess. You think with the moves that we made last year, this team would take a step forward. We took a step backward. And not only that, but we were the only team in the West that was under 500, and that's just unacceptable. We got to do better. We're going into last year the coaching contract. We already fired our pitching coach midway through the season. We got a new one. Will there be more coaching changes? Probably. It's pretty much almost guaranteed now that the budget's figured out a little more. We can't go and blow it on a bunch of people, but if we just make the right signings, we look at the right people, this team will be better next year. I hope. I really do hope. But, yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know who you think we should look at. Do you agree with the prospects production? Do you agree with where they're at? And, of course, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them below the video. Appreciate any kind of questions. And we got the off-season live stream coming up soon. I don't know the exact date. I'm recording this on a Sunday. So maybe Monday, Tuesday. Looking at an off-season stream, it's hard to say. Keep your eye on Twitter. So I appreciate all the support. A lot of people asked for this video. So I'm going to put it up for you. But until then, I'll see you at the O.co. Go A's, right?